and Chris, how are y'all?
We're doing well.
Doing
Happy
well.
to be here.
Thank you.
So we got to start with the question that we ask everybody because everybody want to get all up in your business. We got to ask, how long have y'all been together and how did y'all first meet?
We just celebrated our 14 years.
Yep.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
so much. I can't believe it. Jesus.
I know. It almost felt like it was yesterday.
Yeah, it's weird saying that
Yeah.
even for me. We met actually on Facebook.
Yeah, we sure did.
Yeah. We had like some mutual friends. And
I stalked him down.
yeah, you did. You did. Thank you for telling the truth.
You was liking all his pictures or what was going on?
It was a mutual friend that my sister, it was her friend basically. And he was friends with David and he was into the music scene. And when I saw David, I was like, oh, he's cute, he's handsome. Let me hit him up. So I kind of chat with him quite a few times and stuff. And we had a lot in common because like, you know, even though I'm in the fashion business, I also have love for music because a lot of my family is singers and rappers. So I was like, you know what, let me meet this guy. Let me see what he's about. We chatted for quite a few times and stuff, and we decided to meet up. Meeting up with him, it almost felt like we knew each other for years. Like, it didn't feel like it was a stranger in my house. I was like, who the hell is this? It felt like, oh, this is David. Okay, I know him. And that's our first time meeting.
Yeah.
And it was so crazy that we went out, and I was like, that at the time I was stressed out because I was dealing with these bullshit ass banks and they was taking all my money. And I was like, you know what? I gotta go to the bank. I gotta do something. Let's go to the bank. He meet me. And it was just so cool that day. It just felt like we knew each other. Like the spirit was like very familiar.
I will say that he made plans to meet up with me a few times,
And he did stand me up.
and I stood him up. I think it was about maybe twice,
3 times.
Okay, because I was just getting out of like a relationship. I had got out of a relationship, a long-term relationship, but that was 4 years, you know, I wasn't so sure. I was like, I don't know, you know, if I want to go meet somebody else. But yeah, 14 years later, I'm glad I did.
Yes.
14 years is definitely a long time. How old are y'all?
I'm 38.
And I'll be 36 this year.
So we got some two old heads on the line. Let's get into this 14-year thing. You know, how do you keep it fresh after 14 years?
Chris is my best friend.
Yeah.
And so, like, you know, besides us being, you know, partners and, you know, husbands, we are really close friends and we just really enjoy each other's company. Like, we will sit around here and just laugh and talk and yeah, just like you would do with a best friend, you know what I mean? And we've always had that kind of relationship, you know,
Yes.
and I think that's also what keeps it fresh is that it's not, I think a lot of people put a lot of flack and a lot of energy into the romantic aspects of being together as a couple, but you really got to be friends. You love each other, but you got to like each other too.
Exactly.
You know,
That's
and like just like I get on the phone and call, you know, my friends and we kiki on the phone, I do that at home, you know, with my husband. We be in here just dying and having fun. And yeah, that keeps it fresh.
It definitely does. I totally agree with David. Like, just be yourself and like, you know, like love the person that you with, like, and don't show like, be who you are. That's all I want to say. Just be who you are. Go into a relationship being who you are and not having like a mask on and like pretending that you somebody else. Go fully you and let the person see who you are so they can actually, you know, express of having a good relationship.
We were joking saying that being in our late 30s, mid to late 30s is old, but I mean, I think for a 14-year relationship, that's pretty young.
Yeah.
Where did you learn to have an attitude towards relationships that would build something so solid? Did you see that modeled growing up, or how did you learn?
I never saw that model going up.
No, definitely not.
If I would have saw that model going up, me and David would have been broken up years ago. Like, I'm so serious with that because sorry, Mom, sorry, Dad.
That's okay. We gotta talk about it.
I don't know. I think it was just supernatural. It almost felt like we was meant to be together. And my sister knew his sister.
Went to high school
together. And then my mother knew his mother because she owned the flower shop in Harlem. So it was almost like it was meant for us to actually be together.
Yeah. My mother was single my whole entire life. I was raised Jehovah's Witness. So, unless she was to find herself a Jehovah's Witness man, it wasn't happening. And she didn't. So she was single and celibate my whole entire childhood. So I saw really no real model for a relationship. My dad had gotten married, but he got divorced. So all the models for relationship was pretty negative surrounding us. We just kind of made a decision that we wanted to break those kind of cycles, and not engage in that same negative behavior, that we wanted to push something positive for that would be for us.
Yeah, because when we look at our family now, we the only successful relationship. Like my sister and my other sister and my brother, they don't have no such relationship at all. I'm like the only one with the successful relationship. So I definitely didn't see no one.
Yeah.
Where did you two gather the tools? Did you have experiences before you got in this relationship, or how did you discover those tools together?
Like I said before, I had previously been in a long-term relationship that was very volatile. Getting out of that, I didn't really want a relationship anymore. I mean, I was just like, whatever, I'm gonna go have fun. And in fact, at our first meeting, it was supposed to strictly be a hookup. It was like, I'm going to get in and get out, right? And we definitely did not have the tools when we got together. Like we didn't know what we were doing. I tell everybody it was really love at first sight. Mm-hmm. Because we got married 1 month after we met. Yes. And so, my pastor, my spiritual dad, my pastor at the time, he was just like, what in the world do you mean? That y'all done went and got married. And I'm just like, yeah, we did. And he's like, well, y'all gonna have to, learn each other as you go. And we did. I mean, I think it wasn't that much of a struggle because for some reason we really just meshed. And so, like, I wish I could say like there was like some magic tool that we, got, and we went, no, we kind of just worked. And when we realized that certain things didn't work, that we didn't like, someone did something that we didn't like, we would just change it because we meant enough to each other to not try to bring harm to the other person. Especially with a relationship that's like as long-term as ours, you have to consistently check in and see who you are. And if who you are is still matched to who you're with, because over a 14-year period, we've changed multiple times. We've had multiple different iterations of who we are. And so we just consistently check in with one another, to make sure that is this still working? Are we still happy? It's intentional, I think.
It is.
Yeah.
It definitely is.
Yeah.
I hope this next question is not too intrusive, but are y'all monogamous?
we are not monogamous.
No.
And no, it's not intrusive at all. No, it's not intrusive at all. I think probably this will be the first time we ever talked about it on a public platform.
Yes.
Yes. But we're quite okay with doing that.
It's
yeah.
fun. Yeah.
But no, we're definitely non-monogamous. Yeah.
So what ways do you feel like being non-monogamous have benefited you to, and how have you learned to negotiate the terms of non-monogamy?
So let me just say that previous to me being in a relationship with Chris, I always was a bit non-monogamous. I've never really been. I mean, I can and have maintained monogamous relationship without infidelity. But at my core, I don't think I've ever really been I've never really been monogamous. And so when we met, you know, I was willing to be monogamous because I can be, right? But
I wasn't.
But he was not willing to be non-monogamous.
We're gonna do I can't do all this stuff.
Yeah, he was like, it's me and you, or it's nothing.
It's nothing. That's how I was. I ain't got time for that.
And I was fine with that, you know. I loved him enough. I was fine with that. And it didn't feel like I was like losing any part of myself if I had to be monogamous. But somewhere along the way, we just, realized that we still enjoy other people.
We did. And the funny thing about it is that even though I was saying that I wasn't for it, I was somewhat fronting because I was kind of scared to say, I'm very sexual, and I was also scared too because I didn't know how to express how sexual I was, or is going to cause the drama and stuff like that to cause, because it was something new to me. I didn't know that I was feeling that type of way. And I didn't know how to express it as well to my partner, that was like, you know what, maybe we should be open and stuff. Maybe we should try it because we both felt the same way, but I just didn't want, something to go wrong either, because I was so happy in my marriage. So that's why when me and David had a conversation, it was like, you know what, we should be like, we don't know what to call it, but let's just be open and stuff. And I think we had, the right to be open because we were so solid in our marriage.
Right.
That, even if we be open, it's not like we going out there and cheating. It's like, well, babe, I want to do this, I want to do that. And I'm letting him know too, what's the rules and regulations and what's the, what you can't do and what you can't do.
The boundaries. And
the boundaries and stuff. So that way we both have like an agreement that we're not going to cross no boundaries with another person that the other person don't know about.
Yeah. How many years into the relationship did you two agree to open up a little bit?
Well, in the beginning, of course, we were just him and I, and then we began to open up a bit more, like, sexually. But we would do things together. Mm-hmm. And then further along, I would say like it got even more open where we would even do things separate from one another. And that was probably, I would say, maybe 5 years ago.
5 years ago.
Yeah. So about 10 years in, fully open.
Have y'all run across people who you really had to enforce hard boundaries on?
Absolutely.
When it came to me,
right.
For some reason, I always get the ones that's idiots. I don't know why though. I never had that. I don't know. I never had that success. Like I never was successful in like meeting somebody that was like, that wasn't trying to what do you call that? Compete. Be and compete with my husband. I always try to, I tell them the details. I tell them, this is where we at, you know, and I always have to explain myself, like, I'm not doing this because my sex is not great. My sex is amazing. But it's just always some reason they feel like I'm the one that's lying, I'm the one that's cheating on my husband. Or it's like, well, you're not doing that, then your husband can't be as much good because then you here with me. So I'm like, okay, I don't know why I always wind up attracting those people, but I always do. To the point that I was like, you know, I'm tired of this shit. I can't do this no more.
So what you doing to these boys?
Right. I've had a bit more success with, you know, other people. Everyone that I've been with, for the most part, have been very, very respectful of my marriage, and even embracing of it. If it ended, it was just because, you know, time constraints and, you know, people were busy and we just can't, you know, balance that. But I actually haven't really had anybody be, you know, dismissive or disrespectful of my marriage. But Chris has had a few people that were, and then he's quick to like, oh nope, that's it.
I'm ending it.
You're like, once you
go.
do that, once there's a, you know, any kind of notion of competition or, you
being
know,
disrespectful,
yeah, it's done. Yeah.
And you know what? I also be feeling. I don't want to even say this, but I also feel like because I'm always attracted to Black men. It's always something with Black men that have something to do with you being polyamorous. I never got that. Like when I talk to somebody, you know, I like Black men. I'm just putting that out there. When I talk to somebody that's Caucasian, I never have those issues. But when it comes to Black men specifically, it's always something like, oh well, maybe you cheating, or you're not telling the truth or who you are and why you gotta be polyamorous only just for sex. And it's just always something crazy that comes in these Black men' mind.
Have y'all met each other's side pieces?
Yeah, they be scared, they be running away.
Everyone's scared of me.
Every time I bring somebody
everyone's always frightened that I'm gonna like, because people really can't get the concept that you have a healthy relationship and that you still choose to be non-monogamous. I always tell people that if you're in a long-term relationship and you're going to be non-monogamous in any kind of way, it cannot be to fix your relationship.
It cannot be.
It cannot be as a band-aid because you're having problems, because it's going to ruin it. Mm-hmm. But as Chris said, we were solid when we decided to do that. We weren't having any problems emotionally, sexually, at all. We were solid. And it was just a decision that we made together. So therefore, we went into it in a healthy kind of way, not as a fixer-upper for something that was going wrong. But people sometimes can't seem to fathom that fact that, you know, you choose that. It must be something going on, you know, that's wrong there, that you would want to, you know, include another party. So people are generally afraid of, like Chris partners, they're afraid, you know. They'll be like, oh your husband's gonna beat me up. You know, there's been points time where I've come in and the person, you know, Chris told me, oh, such and such is gonna be here, and I come in and they're here, and they're just like, "Oh my goodness, he's about to tear up the place."
Yeah, that guy was just like in the corner, like this.
And I'm just like, "Hello, how you doing? Nice to meet you. I'm such and such," you know. But people, they really can't get. A lot of people have a hard time with that concept. Mm-hmm. That they feel, even if they hear you that you're non-monogamous, they still think that there must be some cheating going on, or whatever. And then we also have a big thing with people being completely opposed to our relationship in that kind of way. But those people will cheat in a second. They're fine with it. But then when you say, oh, my husband knows, all of a sudden it's a problem. But you were fine with it when you thought that I didn't know or that he didn't know. It's odd.
Most like people get more of a thrill out of the fact that you may be cheating as opposed to understanding that y'all are honest.
Yep.
how do you keep from getting insecure, say maybe, worrying about if somebody's putting it on your man too good or something like that?
That's a good question, right?
Yeah,
People ask that
people do ask that all the time.
People ask that all the time.
Somebody asked that to me recently.
Yeah.
I was like, girl, listen. I always say this, that David is incredible in bed. Always been.
Well, thank you.
And and I tell people this, listen, even if somebody have sex with me good and then I put it on them good, it don't mean that my marriage ends. Sex is just sex. You know what I'm saying? And that's what it's going to be. Like, it's not going to change my mind. It's not going to like, oh, well, he do it so good, I'm just going to go with him. No, that's not even the case. I'm not even doing that. I love David to the T. I love him so much. He's been with me for years, and we have so much of a built connection that I would never leave David no matter what. So my marriage, I always tell people my marriage is not going nowhere, and even when I tell the people that, they still don't get it. But it is what it is.
Jealousy, regardless of whether you're monogamous or non-monogamous, is real. I mean, it's a human emotion. I just think the way we deal with it is a bit different, right? So if I'm feeling a type of way, we are very open and communicative. Like, there is nothing that we don't talk about. Every detail. We talk about everything. And so if I'm feeling a bit jealous, because there's been times when I felt jealous, and there's been times where Chris has felt jealous, and we communicate that with one another. And then we assure one another that everything is still the way it is, And I think that's the thing about a lot of times people are ashamed of their jealousy, and they don't want to say it, they don't want to vocalize it. And so then it just begins to build, and one thing adds on top of the other. And now, before you know it, it's a big, huge problem because this jealousy has never been addressed. And so we address it immediately. If I feel it, I feel it. And sometimes, like, if I'm like, oh no, I just don't feel the vibe of this person, then it just doesn't happen. We respect one another to respect each other's feelings about who we interact with. So yeah, that's kind of how it goes.
You would say ultimately the bond that you two have keeps you from getting emotionally attached to anybody else.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
That's definitely.
And the thing is that, like, so we identify as polyamorous now, right? So we can have emotional attachments to other people. Now, I dated someone and I had a very strong emotional attachment to him. But that did not interfere with my love and my connection with my husband, because, as I said, at my core, I am not monogamous. I am non-monogamous. It's not just something that I'm doing like, oh, I just like to, mess around and have sex with a bunch of people, be promiscuous. I am at my core. I do believe that at my core, I have the ability to have love and connection with more than one person. And so Chris is my primary partner, but I can have connection with other people. And then when I do, I express that, and if it's something that can work between all of us, not that all of us have to be in a relationship with one another, but if the energy is there, then we'll go forth. We have not had something that has been long-term that's worked out that way. I'll say that. But yeah, I mean, our emotional bond keeps us connected, and we don't allow anybody to come in and separate us.
For couples who may be listening who do choose to be non-monogamous, how would you suggest, say, during maybe rocky patches in their relationship, they navigated non-monogamy so that they won't drift apart from each other?
You gotta communicate.
You have to.
I mean, that sounds a bit cliche-ish sometimes.
That's important. That's the most important.
It is the most important thing, and your communication cannot be surface. It's got to be detailed. You got to speak the sentiments of your heart, how you feel it inside. it needs to come out to your partner. And you know, I feel like as human beings, sometimes we have a tendency to put on masks and keep up walls, even with the person that we're with. You know, we don't always, you know, relay the desires of our heart or how we're really feeling deeply as we, you know, would maybe with a therapist or somebody else. You know, we don't do that sometimes with our partners. It's very surface communication. Well, I'm feeling like this and I'm feeling like that. Okay, whatever. No, we talk about the details and why, and what is it making us feel. Right. So if someone's like in that space of rockiness or having an issue in their non-monogamy, they have to communicate in a detailed way.
Mm-hmm.
In your opinion, what makes non-monogamous relationships just as valid as monogamous relationships?
That's a good question.
Yeah, that's a really good question. So I feel like monogamy is a social construct, and most people who say that they are monogamous are only monogamous because of tradition and because of what they've been taught to believe, that, you know, one person should be with another person. That's the traditional way of doing things. It's not always. I do believe that there are people who are innately monogamous, but I think majority of people who say they're monogamous, if they really take a look at themselves deeply, they would find out that all their infidelity comes from the fact that they're probably not monogamous. But social constructs and the way the world works doesn't allow them to fully, right, to fully, you know, practice that. But non-monogamy and monogamous relationships are both valid because both of them have love, both of them have connection, both of them have rules. I mean, it's not a free-for-all.
No, it's sure.
You know, it's not just go and do, oh yeah, go willy-nilly, have fun.
You gotta have rules in
there
place.
Are boundaries.
It is.
And I think that's sort of the misconception that people have. They just feel like, well, you know, you want your cake and eat it too. Well, actually, you know, cake is for eating.
We end these conversations with a Joseph Beam quote, which is, "Black men loving Black men is a revolutionary act." In your opinions, David and Chris, what makes Black men loving each other so revolutionary?
Ooh,
that's a strong question.
Wow, I mean, I think that quote alone is beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
It is a revolutionary act because there's so much lack of love among Black men. You know, I think that specifically, even if you look at like most heteronormative cisgendered men, the connection of love is missing a lot in those kind of relationships. Not even only just intimate romantic relationships, but even in friendships, there's a lack of the ability to at least show love in the way that we would traditionally look at love being shown, affection. I think that any kind of connection between Black men, whether it be romantic or, you know, straight up familial love, you know, it is revolutionary because it's not that much of that happening. You know, I think society puts constraints on how we are able to show love towards one another.
I totally agree.